Hi, it's Chris Titley here. As part of the Scoreboard podcast, I'm joined by Ali Brigginshaw in her kitchen room table. Ali, thank you so much for being part of this series.
No worries.
And
Thanks for
thank you
having
for
me.
hosting
Thanks for
me
coming
here
over.
in Ipswich. Now, Ali, I'm going to start. We are sitting at your kitchen table in Ipswich, where you have grown up. I would love to sort of get the listeners to understand a little bit about your connection with Ipswich.
Yeah, so I just grew up here. Mum and dad and my brother and family are all here, and I just felt this really nice, homey feeling and supportive feeling through Ipswich. My dad played rugby league over at North Tigers, where Alan Langer, the Walters boys, um, they're all over there. So they all came from Ipswich. So I just really felt like rugby league home was here. And the support that I received playing rugby league, the support I still feel now, bringing my family up here, it just feels like home. And my thing to athletes is be really proud to be from Ipswich. It doesn't always have the best rap in the news or um, in the newspaper, things like that. But I just really want people to be proud of where they come from. And I'm extremely proud to come from Ipswich.
Excellent. And the early days of rugby league in Ipswich, you said your dad did play, but I'm interested to know about your background and how was that the trigger for you to go, wow, this is a really interesting game?
Yeah, so grew up wanting to be like dad. My brother played, and the school I went to, there was a rugby league team, and I was just really wanted to play to be like my brother and my dad. So started playing there. We had a female coach in Peter Curtin, who's sadly not with us anymore, but she was the coach. So I really felt like I had support there. A female coaching rugby league 20 years ago was unheard of. So I just loved the contact of the sport. I loved hanging out with the boys. They were really supportive of me. The competitiveness that rugby league brought. And so I played that at school, went on to play Ipswich, where we travelled to Maitland, played Met West, which was our regional team to try out for Queensland, where I was the only girl at all of those carnivals. Played against guys like Daly Cherry Evans at those carnivals. So just absolutely loved it. My mum and dad, all my family were super supportive, even though there was a lot of people saying she can't play or why would girls be playing rugby league? It was just unheard of. Go to carnivals, there's 300 boys and I'm the only girl. So that's kind of where it all started. And then when I was 12, I was told I'll never play a game of rugby league again. And just
was that just due to the fact that there was no teams, no competition, anything like that? Sorry, see you later. It's just not a game for girls.
Yeah, well, they just said you're maturing, you're becoming like a lady. So they just said because of that you can't play rugby league, and there's no sport. Oh, there's no spot for girls in the game.
And then I think you played touch after that,
Yeah,
and then rejoined league at around sort of 17 or 18. Is that right?
yeah. So touch football kind of framed my whole. I played when I was 10. Played with mum and dad, brothers, cousins, aunties, uncles. Played locally. A couple of nights a week. Just absolutely loved playing with family and learning, from the older crew about how to play sport and things like that. So when I left rugby league, I went and played for my country in touch football, under 20s. Travelled with that.
And that gap between league and touch, did you give up watching league? Was league just like it's gone? It's forever gone?
No, I played backyard footy with the whole neighbourhood. So they still included me. I still absolutely loved it. Played at school on the oval with all the boys, but there was just no actual competition. Yeah, it was backyard footy, front yard, everyone come over and we all get into it. So that probably kept me going in those years where I couldn't play.
And then the chance to play league again, how did that come about?
Yeah, so it was crazy how it all came about. It was from touch football, a guy called Tyson Brough. His dad's Rob Brough, the news reporter. He called me and just said, hey, my son tells me you can play rugby league, can play touch football pretty well. I reckon you could go well at rugby league. And then got the phone call, went to training a couple of days later, and that's where it all started. So without that phone call, when he first rang me, I said, there's no women's rugby league. He said, there is. He said, you come to Davies Park at West End and I'll show you, and rocked up. And
there was a whole lot of people playing rugby league, a whole lot of girls playing rugby league.
Well,
anyway.
at the time, it was like there was like 10 of us. We had to get cousins, sisters. We had to get everyone to try and join the team. So women's rugby league in 2009 was trying to get people to play, and the comps were small and no one come to watch. The jerseys, we had to borrow jerseys. We'd have one referee play on the local parks. But yeah, they were playing it and they loved it.
And sitting here, nearly 15 years later, how have you found that development of the game? And did you think you'd be here now talking that you've represented your country, captain Queensland, captain the Broncos in an NRLW competition that's thriving?
Did not think. Never thought I'd pull on another rugby league jersey since I was 12. So to pull on a Broncos jersey, people say, what's the biggest moment in your career? And unless you could understand and be in my shoes, I guess, walking into the Broncos, I used to think I was Alan Langer wearing a Broncos jersey when I was a kid. So walking in there to sign your contract at the Brisbane Broncos, meeting those guys, having, the logo on your shirt, that was just like no one can ever explain what that actually feels like, because, we thought we were little boys running around with these jerseys on, and now I see young girls with Brigginshaw and number 7 on their jerseys. It's, kind of like a pinch me moment of look at where we are.
And the Broncos being such an iconic club in the NRL and rugby league, full stop. What's the experience like of playing for them over the last 7 years now?
The club's just absolutely amazing. The support, the fans. You walk into Red Hill and there's just fans that sit there every single day, congratulate you every single day, talk about the game, talk about the game 5 years ago. They know every player, they know every score line. It's got a really big family vibe about it, and just the support that you get from the Brisbane Broncos. You walk down the street here and you see someone with a Broncos shirt, hat, shorts, socks. I just feel like it's a really big brand that people feel like they're a part of. And I always say rugby league is there for people on their worst day and there for people on their best days. It's something that brings people together, whether you play it, whether you're a supporter. Rugby league is normally a conversation where people can be themselves or talk about what they love. You'll find most people love rugby league.
You mentioned that the supporters love all their stats and their data and the results, etc. How are you on that? Do you remember all your games?
I am not great. Probably because I'm 35 and some of the people I'm playing with are 18.
We've got memories.
It's just something that probably I'll go back and look at now and be like, what was that moment? What was that first NRLW try? I just did something the other day and they're like, this was it. And it just feels like that was so long ago, but really it wasn't.
No, it wasn't indeed. I'm interested to know, like, as a parent with kids, that they're competitive, broadly speaking, and they win or lose a game, and they generally know where they win or lose, even if it's not scored. How are you with the winning and the losing on your ledger of life of playing rugby league? Do you reckon you've won more games than you've lost?
I've been in some very, very successful teams, obviously with the Broncos, and when I was playing for the Queensland Maroons, I wasn't a part of all of them, but we were on an 18-year winning streak in that time, and then been in 3 successful World Cups. So I'd probably say that there's a few more wins than losses. But like I say, people say, oh, you're getting older. It's time to give some of the younger girls a go. And I just think the game was taken away from me for so many years. Why would I walk away from something that was never going to be there? So for me, pulling on the jersey at the local park or pulling it on at a World Cup, to me, is just something that I absolutely love. And for all those years I lost, I want to make up for.
Yeah, and the interest of women's sport and NRLW, and you've got brand partnerships and sponsorships, etc. I've walked in and you decked out in all your Puma kit. Is there a sponsorship there?
Yeah, so I was with Adidas when I first started, but made the crossover to Puma. My dad, I have a newspaper clipping of him signing his Puma contract many, many years ago. So I've been with Puma for quite a few years now, 5 or 6 years. So absolutely love the support. It's people like that. You used to have to get all your money together to go and buy a pair of boots, whereas the support from Puma, you can get the new boots, you can get the kit, and it's just something that helps when women's rugby league or sport isn't paying females where it should be. Though all those little brand sponsors help. Having a car sponsor, I'm with Llewellyn's in Ipswich, super, super supportive, and it just helps those athletes get ahead and be able to have certain things that help you in life, because being an athlete, you dedicate so much time to playing rugby league that there's not always that much time to go to work.
Yes, yep. And the dedication, I'm interested to know, Ali Brigginshaw, like your powers and your traits that you have that other people haven't got, that you get selected for being captain, you get selected for all these teams, and you've played so well. What do you reckon your attributes are that make you such a good player?
So long story, but when I first went to school, all those sorts of things, I wasn't always the best kid. So I was pretty naughty and didn't enjoy school, kind of just wanted an out, and that was with sport. So left school, and then I met a guy called Graham Murray. He's sadly not with us anymore, from the Cowboys, and he come and coached the Australian Gillaroos, which I was a part of. And I thought I played halfback or 5'8" at the time, and he goes, "Nope, you're not ready yet." When I wasn't selected in the team, I was playing centre at the time. He said, "Your time will come." He said, "But I want you to practice a couple of things." And I thought, "What do you want me to practice? Kicking, passing, I'll do anything." And he goes, "I want you to be on time, use your manners, and be in uniform." And I was like, those 3 things, like, what? That is not going to get me the number 6 jersey. And he goes, "Start to do those things and people will see you differently. You'll show more respect to others." And at the time I was wearing pink socks because I wanted to, like different pair of shorts, just because I thought I was the cool kid, found a different way to just be myself. And he said, the minute you're late, the minute you're not using your manners or you're wearing the wrong uniform, you're showing disrespect. And then I started to do those things, and that's when a lot of things started to happen. Captaincies.
Can you go through those 3 things again?
Be on time, use your manners, and be in uniform.
And it stick with you today, to this day? Yep.
To this day. And I think, you go to schools and you see all those words on the board, and it's resilience.
Visions and values. And
my 8-year-old kid doesn't know what resilience means. So not many kids would understand, what does respect look like? Is it saying thank you? No, respect is more, it's being on time. Yeah, wearing your uniform correctly. If you're down the street and I'm in a Broncos shirt and I'm having road rage with someone, it's a representation of the Broncos, not only me. So that was just something where I just tried to do those things and then started to get respect. A lot of our coaches, they give up, especially in the female space, they give up a lot of time and a lot of effort to be there. And a lot of us will finish training, get in the car and drive home and not say thank you. So it was just those little things where I was like, hey, I'm starting to get the hang of this. I'm starting to do good. And that was always what I wanted at school. I wanted to do well, but I didn't know how to do that because I wasn't the best at maths or English. And I was great at HPE, but I couldn't do those other things. So when I started to show those respect things to coaches, teammates, it kind of just changed my whole aspect of life, my happiness, feeling like I was doing good, not just on the rugby league field, but off the field. And then, started to do them. And it was just like I kind of found myself and found my confidence in being a good person. And my biggest thing is you could be the best rugby league player in the world, but if you're not a good person, no one will ever remember you. We remember Cam Smith and Billy Slater because of how great people they are, not just because they could play rugby league.
That's some really good advice. The punctuality thing's interesting. Were you a little bit late sometimes?
Oh, I'd just rock up on time.
Yeah.
If
right.
not,
okay.
I'd come a couple of minutes late and be like, oh, the lift was stuck, and it's like, that's not a good enough reason. You've got plenty of time to leave your room, get down there on time. So I'm probably too early to some things. And it does become difficult. Sometimes I think some things are out of your control, but I was always told by Darius Boyd, who I work with, a big message is never rock up late with a coffee. Because if you had time to get a coffee, then
yes,
you're
on the way. You stop off and take your 10 minutes to.
Yep.
Sometimes it can be longer than that, by the way.
The traffic was really late. Well, you've got a coffee, so you obviously had time. So I just think it's something that young kids probably, especially the cool kids, probably don't look at those sorts of things. I see kids with all different socks on, all different shorts on because they're trying to fit in and trying to find themselves. But just wearing a uniform and using your manners.
And you touched on being a good person and doing good. You've got a profile. You're an athlete. There's a lot of eyes on you. You're in the media. You've got a bit of a platform. Can you talk about what you're doing outside of the game to do good?
Yeah, I just love helping people. Sometimes it can take a toll on myself. If you're always trying to help or always worrying about other people. But one thing as a captain that I've really tried to take on as a role as a leader is helping my teammates, because if your teammates are happy, they're going to perform. So I always joke, but it could be something as simple as some of the girls don't drink coffee for breakfast, but if the nutritionist has taken away juice for a health side of things, like fighting to get them juice. Like, it seems so small, but if that's someone's daily routine, I don't think we should change a daily routine when we're going into play one of the biggest games. So anything it is, uniform, if the girls don't feel comfortable wearing a skirt, hey, coaches, can they wear pants? All those sorts of things, because if my players are uncomfortable or not feeling themselves, they're not going to be happy. Therefore, they're not going to perform. They're not going to talk. So I try and look at, what can I do to make my teammates' jobs easier, or what can I do to make them happy? Because I was that young kid at school that wasn't happy because I couldn't be myself and I had no one to help me around me. So, I try and think, the more I can help you, the more I can make you. I sometimes get in trouble by my wife because I'll be over the road cutting someone else's hedges when our hedges need cutting, because sometimes I like to just help in the community. But I just think that's one way, makes me happy, helps others, and that's probably the way that I live.
And I think from your point of view, it sounds like that you're very switched on mentally and up here. And maybe that's not the case throughout your entire life, but I'm curious to know, as in how much time you spend on that now versus the skills and the physicality of the game.
I think it's just really important to worry about you when it comes to, so if I'm going to a game, what do I need to do to make sure I'm going to be ready to play? I don't need to do what the person next to me is doing. I don't need to copy what they're doing. Even they might be the best player in the game, but I don't need to do what they're doing. I need to do what I'm doing. And then if every player does that, you're better to perform. Whereas I think some people fall into the trap of, I need to do what that player's doing because they're the best in the game. It doesn't work for everyone. You got to find what makes you tick, how you can perform to be able to be the best player. It doesn't always mean, the person next to you.
And that sometimes can mean sort of minuscule roles in teams as well, coming off the bench for 5 minutes, etc., and accepting that as opposed to being the star player. So I suppose as a leader now, everyone's got their different roles, but as individual players, they've got to play that particular role. How hard was that for you early on when you weren't the star?
Yeah, so buying your time. Graham Murray said it really well to me. He said, you're not ready. Go and play in the centres. You have another role for you in this team right now. This player is the best number 6 that we have, and that's the best for the team. And that, my first reaction was to kick stones and say I'm better than her and all these other things. But once my emotions went away, it was like, okay, I'm not ready. I need to go and do this because this is what's better for the team. And I had some great role models. Karen Murphy, she was big to be like, just buy your time. You will get there. So it's really important to understand the coaches have a big role to play in making sure that they're clear on your job, but understanding what your team needs to get the best result. And, some people aren't great at it. Some people go, nah, I should be this, kick stones, and they'll miss their opportunity. In the women's game, those opportunities aren't going to come as quickly and as easy as they have, because it's going to be harder to make it. It's extremely hard for boys to make the NRL. I think 1% might make it. Whereas in the women's game, it's going to get to that. You're going to miss your opportunity if you're not willing to work hard and train hard and be a part of the team. You'll have an opportunity that'll be gone.
You mentioned earlier before the podcast about training hard, and in some instances in various locations, including Ipswich, it's very hard to train with a group of people to do the things you want to do because of where you are and also the different types of, I suppose, sports that are played. Can you talk about a little bit of loneliness you mentioned early on around training?
Yeah, I just think I've always been that type that, Dad always said, you don't need fancy gyms, you just need a field, or you can do push-ups, you can do things at home. And I always thought, no, I see all these people there in fancy gyms, and it's as a female athlete, I have to go to work, I have kids, I've got to train all in these 3 things. I don't just get to go to the Broncos and train. So I might have to run early in the morning. I might have to run late at night, and I might have to run close to home because I've got to get home. I've got to, prepare for the next day. So it might be going down to Limestone Park. It might be running.
The home of kids cross country.
Yes. And stepping it out, not having markers or water bottles, stepping it out, having your phone in your hand to keep the time. That's got to get me through the session, and then constantly through the session thinking about, I'm doing this for this reason. It's not always just laid out there for you. You got to work hard, but sometimes it's on your own. And that's what I think. I've been to fields before. I was out at Stanthorpe, and there was just one girl just on the field. She had a water bottle, a couple of cones, and she was just running because you got to make do with what you got. And I think that's something that the younger generation need to understand is sometimes it's going to be really lonely. Sometimes you're going to have to push yourself, mentally become strong, not rely on others to pick you up all the time. So just that part of women's sport in working, family, some kids are still at school trying to juggle everything. You're going to be at the local field on your own. You're going to be working extremely hard, but it's all worth it when you get there.
It seems like you're an incredibly hard, determined worker off the field and on the field and balancing all these things. I'm interested to know whether you've had a goal. Has there been a big, hairy, audacious goal from a kid or now, and what's your views on goal setting?
I don't probably have small goals of like winning awards, things like that, like
That you can put in your
medallion and
hand,
stuff like that. I don't really
even
look
though
at
you've won it, by the way.
I don't really look at life like that. I look at it as kind of, I find every little part of rugby league challenging. And I feel like over the years when I was 8 to 12, and all those people that commented on what I look like or commented on how I played because I was a girl, built my resilience up to be like, any game I play, I'm putting my body on the line. I want to win. I want to do my family proud. I'm just super, super competitive. So whether we're playing local touch in Ipswich, whether we're playing for the Broncos, Queensland, Australia, I just have that competitiveness to want to win because of the resilience and the mental toughness that I got from when I was younger. All those people telling me I can't. I can still remember, I won't say names, but I remember guys just saying, you will never play rugby league again. You cannot play. You are a girl.
Girls do not play. It's too rough. It's too physical, all those things.
So when I was 11, I made the Met West team. So when I was 12, you would think I would make it because I made it in the younger year. And I remember a guy saying, we're not going to pick you this year because you have no future in the game of rugby league. We're going to give that little boy a go. And it's people like that. All I need to do is keep telling myself that, and I'll play every single game to the best of my ability because I had one person tell me that they weren't going to pick me again.
And the goal was to play professional or in a professional sense as a kid, and then to become captain. Was that a goal of yours as well?
Probably not necessarily a goal, but it was something where I was like, I think I could actually do that. I started
So the belief.
Yeah. So after learning from Karen Murphy for so many years, she was the 7, I was the 6. I was kind of like, I want to be like her. Whatever Murph was doing, I kind of wanted to be like. She was the best in the game, still the best to ever play the game. She was a great leader, but she wasn't someone yelling at the team all the time. She was just showing the team with her actions, or being the best teammate, being the nice person off the field, caring for others. And I was like, I can do those sorts of things. And then I remember just the confidence that I was getting from doing that. And I was like, I could be a captain. You dream of being school captain, but no way I was ever going to be school captain because I was naughty and all the rest of it. But when I started to become a woman and like learn all those certain things, I was like, I can actually do that. And then, playing, like I said, I thought I was going to be a boy playing for the Broncos somehow. Playing for Queensland, Dad played for Queensland. He wore number 7. He played with Wally Lewis, those guys. So I wanted to be like him. And then playing for your country. Playing in a World Cup, winning the first ever World Cup.
The 2013, was it?
Yeah. Well, not the first ever World Cup.
Well,
the first
Australia.
World Cup that Australia ever won. To see Murph hold the trophy up. Like, I was a part of so many moments that I just kind of like ticked that off. I've ticked that off. I've been to World Cups. I've won Origins. I don't necessarily have things written down where I'm like, I want to achieve that. I just play every single game like it's my last.
And ticking the boxes all the way through and to win a World Cup in 21 and to be captain and win Origin series and win the NRLW, etc. What's the next tick the box for you?
Well, I think the mentality that I have is I'm one of the only girls that is still playing from, call it back in the day, with those older girls.
2018 was the... Is that what you're talking about?
But 2009.
Yes, yep.
So I was given all this knowledge. I was shown all these things. I was shown how to party. I was shown how to play rugby league. I was shown success from that era. And I want to show these young girls that now. So my role and responsibility for every team that I'm in is to show them how we do it. So at the Broncos, we show them how we did in 2018. This is what we did. This is our standards we had. For Origin, I've been through many, many years. I've been through losses, wins, to show those young girls coming through, this is what Origin is. This is how you play it. This is what you do when you're in this jersey. And then for Australia, it's getting these young girls to talk about this as the top of the game, not talk about the Origin as the top of the game. It is playing for your country, being the best version of yourself in front of the rest of the world. So my goal is pass on all that knowledge to those younger girls. And that's, Murph still calls me and she's like, so proud of you just showing the girls the way and showing them how to wear that jersey, because if I'm not there doing it, who's doing it?
Yeah, absolutely. And then the advocacy off the field and the interests off the field to help and to, life post footy. It's something which obviously in the peak of being an athlete you don't want to think about, but it's going to have to be there. Have you thought about that?
Yeah, I haven't fully thought about what that looks like. Right now I'm still in that bubble of I want to win a premiership for the Broncos before I leave. So whether it's radio, whether it's on TV, coaching everyone says you're going to be a coach.
Yep. Do you want to be?
But I want to be a good coach. So
Yep.
I want to not be thrown into it because I've played many, many years of rugby league. I want to be put into a role because I'm a good coach. So whether that means starting from the bottom up, whether that means starting at 15s, under 20s, whatever that looks like before I get up to the NRLW, whether it's assistant coach up there, I want to look at, making sure that I've learnt from people before I get there. Having a coaching mentor, I just don't want to be given a role because I'm an ex-player. I want to work to get there.
And being a high performance athlete with rugby league the focus and rugby league through your whole life, do you switch off?
I do. So when I come home, it's all about being with family. I love being out in the yard. I love mowing.
Not playing rugby league in the yard?
Not playing rugby league. Oh, I get out there with my boy. He plays rugby league. But it's all just about being at home. I love being at home, cooking.
I love being at your home too. I'm sitting here at the kitchen table. It's beautiful.
But
it's nice and peaceful.
I love feeling like home. And that's why I've never left Ipswich. I love family. Bring my kids up in Ipswich. If I'm not playing rugby league, I'm at their sport or I'm working. Trying to.
And what's the downtime activity? So mowing the lawn's a bit cathartic. What other things provide you a little bit of catharticism?
Well, I mow the lawn a lot, so that would happen more than once a week.
Headphones on or not?
No headphones. Just absolutely love being outside. I love looking around. I know that sounds, watching the birds, things like that. I love just being out in nature. Go for walks, love historical houses. So look at all the Queenslanders around here, talking to neighbours. Kind of being out, just being everything but rugby league. Sometimes when you go out, you run into someone, they're like, when's your next game? And it's constantly
You have
rugby,
to go back
rugby,
on
rugby.
and switch on and say, okay,
So it's
next
kind of
Saturday.
like, I love hanging out with friends that aren't all about rugby league. I've kind of taken up a little bit of golf. I wouldn't say I'm great, but I thought that could be something. Live near a golf course, so I thought that might be something I could take up.
Yeah, absolutely. And how do you go with all the fandom and the stardom that you are now? And you told me a little story about your neighbour knocking on the door or yelling out, Ali, and taking selfies. So how do you deal with it?
It's kind of crazy at the time, and you get a bit embarrassed when you're out in public and that kind of thing's happening. But to going from a young girl when I was 18 to kind of being a bit ashamed to say that we played rugby league because people had comments about it. Where they say that guy at the bar that always thought chicks couldn't play footy or they should be in the kitchen kind of comments. You weren't necessarily confident to say you played rugby league. So to walking down the street now and getting stopped by little boys saying they want to be Ali Brigginshaw or they want to play rugby league like us, or how many games I've played and what number I wear, and going into the school and it's the kids wanting autographs to go is just kind of like a pinch me moment to be like, people know what women's rugby league is. This is cool. We have fans now. We have posters.
Trading cards.
That was never anything that we had. Figurines. Like, that was never anything. We had 10 people watching us play State of Origin. Now we have 20,000+. We're 1 million viewers. It's just kind of like a moment to say, when I leave this game, it will be professional. It will get to the spot where it should be aligned with the men's game.
Yep. And how, like, getting nearer, but how long do you think that might take, or you've got a vision on where and things that can change for women's rugby league?
Yeah. I think once we get it, I would say within the next 5 years, we'll be professional. So I wouldn't say that's going to be money that's through the roof, but I think we can get there. So the next 5 years, I'd like to see, we've got full-time staff now, coaches, which is great. We've got players that work for the clubs, which is great. That normally they're semi-professional. But I'd love to see, we got development players getting paid now. So we have young girls coming along and they actually get a wage rather than them just
rocking up and saying, I've got to go to work.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah.
So they actually get a wage for a young 16, 17-year-old kid.
That's fabulous.
That's great.
Yep.
So we are definitely moving in the right directions. We got 12 teams now, starting from 4 7 years ago. So we're getting there.
And when you started out playing rugby league, there wasn't any social media. There wasn't any sort of like fast-paced democratization of information around sports technology and what to eat and whatnot. How's that changed, and how have you coped with that?
Oh, it's crazy. Nutritionists, training programs. I always say every session I do is the hardest session I've ever done. Like, fitness-wise, it's gone from doing a couple of laps around the oval to 40 minutes of intense strength training, conditioning. Gyms, we've got a great facility at the Broncos. Everywhere we go, we get the best facilities. It's what I've been able to see the girls transition from when I first started, physique-wise, conditioning-wise, is just absolutely through the roof. We're talking minutes of our fitness tests. Like,
the game's faster.
The girls are, if girls aren't lifting 100 kilos every time you go into the gym, then chin up. Like, it's just, some of the girls have just gone absolutely through the roof. I feel like I still live in I do what's best for me. But I'm one of the only ones
You're the leader.
Older.
You're the captain, right?
Yeah. I am working on that and a little bit of changing, but I've always just been someone that's done exercise around here and what makes me happy. So it might be a road run. It might be kicking the footy down the oval with the kids. Boxing is just kind of what I find makes me happy and makes me have a bit of fun.
What about the mindfulness stuff? Do you get into doing some yoga or Pilates or some slow stuff to kind of calm yourself down?
I kind of just do my mowing.
Yep.
That's kind of my
That's your
escape.
happy spot. Yeah.
Yep. Going outside, I just be in nature. I just absolutely love anything. Sometimes I'll just sit out there, go for a swim, just hang out, just anything away from screens, TVs, things like that. So
it's a big thing for kids as well now
to
get them out.
Yeah. So I take the kids out there, but got into a bit of breathing, just trying to work on what makes me happy.
Do you get nervous?
Before games?
Yeah.
Absolutely. I get nervous going to training. So I'm nervous today, got training tonight. It's just, I care about how I train. I would never show up to training and not be ready or not put in 100%. So I get nervous about making sure that I'm always performing.
And what do you do to alleviate the nervousness?
Well, normally in a game, it'll be my first tackle or my first pass.
Just to get something off.
Get something. Normally it's my first tackle.
Face the first ball of a test match. Just like, right, I'll face the first one, right? You're okay, yeah?
So get into that. I'm pretty strict on doing the same thing. Always get strapped really early so then I'm ready.
Superstitious?
Yeah. I'll normally say to the physio, you make sure you come strap me first before, because I just have this fear of being late.
Which is one of the 3 that you talked about.
Yep, just constantly think if I'm late to a game or so make sure I do that. So that kind of, I guess, deals with it.
What about sleep? You a good sleeper?
Great sleeper. Can sleep anywhere. It's a bit of a joke, but yeah, very, very good sleeper. Always just think if I got an hour here or there, I'll get some rest because I'm going to use it in a training session, use that energy.
And how do you go with the different timings of the games in terms of preparation with sleep the night before if you're playing an afternoon game versus an evening? Have you got your routines down pat or is it a bit variable?
We pretty much get told like a set routine on when to sleep, when to eat based on what time the game is. So Origins, the game's 7:50, which is extremely late for a women's game because some days we play at 11 a.m. So normally our nutritionist will give us a set time of when we should eat, how big the meal should be. Like it's pretty much laid out for you.
Yeah, right. And do you have a preferred time slot of playing?
Afternoons, Sunday afternoons.
Sunday afternoons.
Yeah.
At Suncorp.
Yeah.
The best. What about, I was just going to say, do you listen to podcasts? You read books?
I'm into, through the Broncos, we do a bit of the resilience project. So I'm into all that kind of stuff, the GEM, gratitude, empathy, mindfulness. We deliver that to schools, primary school kids. So pretty passionate about trying to change the mental health side of things from a young age.
You mentioned the resilience and kids. It's hard to sort of get through, even though some of them probably seeing resilience without knowing that they're getting resilience per se. Are we trying to change that? How do you change that? Or do you just sort of let it go a little bit in terms of when they start understanding the word?
I think it's trying to explain to them when they've been able to overcome something. So it might be something extremely small, like getting over an issue with a kid at school, like a disagreement. That's showing resilience to be the bigger person, to be able to overcome that challenge, or looking at being grateful for what they have. You don't need 50 friends. You can just have 2 friends that are there for you. And seeing your kids have that care for others, I think that's also another thing. So just kind of making them aware of things they're doing, because kids just are in pilot mode. They kind of just go with the flow, but showing them when they're showing empathy to others, when they're showing mindfulness. If I tell the kids to go outside and just play together, that's being out in nature, and being grateful for what you have, not always wanting stuff off the shelves. Because I think we always say to our kids, the kids always ask for stuff when you go to Coles and things like that. But it's like, go in your room and find your favorite toy, or
Be bored.
look for what you have.
Yeah. Get that brain thinking.
Yeah. So it's kind of just making them aware of things, because I think we just tell them they should be resilient, but they don't actually know what that looks like.
I'm interested also about your support network along the way through, you being a professional athlete focused on rugby league and getting to the top of the game, top of the world. The people that have back to you from the day dot, and how you've gone around sacrifices. Some people call it investment, some people call it different domains and whatever it might be. But how have you gone with all that?
Yeah, my wife Kate, and the kids are always at every single game that I've ever played, and I think Kate's always really supportive in knowing that I'm going to miss certain things, making those sacrifices. Some days I'll leave the house at 6 a.m, if not earlier, and the kids wouldn't see me till 6 p.m. or 8 p.m. the next day. So knowing that I've had to go to work, then to go to training, I get home at 10 o'clock at night and they're already asleep, and then I wake up the next day and they're at school because I've had to go to work again. So just having that partner that's super supportive of, hey, it's going to be extremely tough now, but in the future, like you're doing this for us. And it's really important, because if you're happy off the field, then you're going to perform on the field. So just having that partner that understands what rugby league looks like. You have to remember it's gone from just being the local couple of night trainings to 4 or 5 hour trainings 4 nights a week, playing on the weekends, playing in Sydney, Melbourne, playing everywhere. So you've gone from being home to now having to work full time and technically play semi-professional / full time. You have very limited hours of being home. Then you've got brands, things like that where you're at. And then mum, dad have always taken me to absolutely every sporting competition ever from the age of 8. And then whenever I play, it's aunties, uncles, cousins, grandparents, like everyone was there. Every time I played, most of the time, there'll be a Brigginshaw or a family member in the crowd.
And you get some texts and things like that after the game and whatnot, and some support from people that say, obviously, if you have a good win, you get lots, and maybe if you don't win, you don't get as many.
I've got a very supportive old coaches, like I said, cousins, always getting text messages, always full of support. Being a part of a big family, I've got that support. But it's the messages from the old friends that I used to play with, saying, love seeing what you're doing, showing the younger ones the way, or doing Queensland proud, those sorts of things.
Where it's not just about you, it's about the legacy that you're bringing to the game.
Yeah, and that's what I always say when I run out onto the field. I feel like I've got all the old players on my back, and I'm going out there to do it for them, because it's not about me. It's about making sure their legacy lives on. When we win, it's singing that song like they're in the dressing room. It's after the game, I get text messages from them, thanking them for paving the way to getting us to where we are. Because if they didn't sell the meat trays and if they didn't fight to play on local fields, I wouldn't be running out on Suncorp now. And I think some people, that younger generation, they haven't necessarily heard those stories or haven't necessarily had to do it, because they've played since they were 6 and they've never had to leave the game.
In a pathway system which exists now, right?
They're getting Queensland jerseys from 15.
Yeah, and you wouldn't.
They're playing for their country 18. There's a schoolgirls under 18 team that goes to Fiji. Yeah, we were told when we were 12 we'll never play a game of rugby league. So I think telling those stories, making the young girls understand that, hey, it's been bloody tough to get to where you are now. Enjoy it, live it. You're going to be professional, but just understand that day where you might not want to go to training, or that day that you think rugby league's too hard, think about what it was like back in the day.
And some advice for boys and girls now playing sport. It's that there's money, there's fame, there's Instagram followers, there's lots of vanity metrics, but also like it's a pathway. It's a legitimate career. And when we were growing up, there was sort of like you played for your country and that was it, and you might get paid a few bucks. But now it is big money and it's big seriousness. What's some advice that you give to people that kids that want to be Ali Brigginshaw?
Well, just one thing for those young kids, they need to remember that those boys and those girls, we're normal people. So I get the question all the time, oh, have you met those boys? Have you met the Broncos boys? And I just say, yeah, they're just humans. They go to work. Their work is playing in the NRL. Remembering that as a young kid, you're just a person and you've got a goal and you want to play rugby league or whatever sport it is you want to play. I think sometimes we think they're just these superstars that get it so easy. For anyone that ever thinks that they get it so easy, go and train like them. Go and be them for a week, and not many people will stay there. Not many people will make it, because it's extremely tough. You got critics, you got the training and how hard it is. Yes, they get paid well, but they've got a lot of hard work to go with it, and not everyone makes it. So my biggest thing to young kids is make sure you've got a backup plan. Don't just rely solely on rugby league. You've got to follow your passion to what you like away from rugby league, because it's bloody tough, and some will make it, some won't. And yeah, it's about the things you do off the field that make you a great athlete, not necessarily the things you're doing on the field. So I'd say work really hard in those off-field things. And
those 3 things you mentioned as well, right? Yep. There's a good start for a teenager.
And you can do that when you're 10. In sport, you can do that at work, you can do that in just general life. But I think people just think you're an athlete, you don't have to do that. And it's like, I've seen the best players just completely give up because they just couldn't figure out how to do it off field. They just were rocking up to training, giving it 50%. And then when this young kid came through and was more determined and more competitive than them, they took their spot. And it's kind of like, we try to tell you, but they just couldn't understand how hard it was to get there. So, yeah, for young kids, just follow what you're passionate about. Do what makes you happy, not what the person next to you does. And that's a way that you can be individual, but work on you, not worry about them.
One last thing I'm going to do off the cuff here is going to be called the scoreboard moment. What moment in your life are you most proud of?
Moments. I have a rugby league moment because I feel like it was just pivotal in changing the whole game, and that was the 2013 World Cup when no one cared about women's rugby league. But when we won that and brought that trophy home, it changed everything. It changed the way we were treated, the jerseys we wore, the places we stayed, the people that watched the game. We started to get televised, all from going to England and winning a World Cup. And a lot of those girls retired there. So to be able to send them out on their way after winning that World Cup and knowing when we flew back to Australia, rugby league for women was going to change. I just feel like no one can go back to that moment. No one can change it. It happened. I was a part of it. And now we get to see the success of where the women's rugby league has gone today.
So that's the rugby league moment.
That's
Any
the
other
rugby
life
league
moment?
The life moment would be being able to buy a house, having a family, having a wife, people that are proud of me. I always said I'd love to buy a house. And I was like, I'm never going to be able to do it. At the time I was career driving and I was just like, that's a lot of money to buy a house. How could I ever do it? And then, started to save, met Kate, and we just did it. And then the proudest thing that I'll ever have is having a home with a wife and kids that we can bring up and come home and have a safe space and just be really proud that I've worked extremely hard to be able to have a beautiful home.
Ali Brigginshaw, thank you so much for being on the Scoreboard podcast today and doing it here in your house that you talk so fondly of. And it's a beautiful house sitting here in the kitchen table. Congratulations on your achievements through your rugby league career and also off the field, and looking forward to catching up and following your progress in 2025.
No worries. Thanks for coming into my home.